so I can start recording. All right, so what we're doing today is everything we're doing today is going to be based off of like real world situations. So you know the whole like, when am I ever going to use this math? If that's all we do today, it's going to be real world stuff. So today is going to be about maximizing or minimizing something, or in other words, finding out what the best combination of things are. So like in our warm-up example here, finding out what the best combination of Roma and cherry tomato plants are to get you the most tomatoes. That's what it's all about. So if you guys ever own like your own small business or something, you could do this kind of stuff to figure out what's the best way to make money. So we're looking at maximizing or minimizing. And that's finding the absolute maximum we can get or the absolute minimum of something. Because sometimes if we want to like minimize spending, that's better than maximizing. Or if you want to maximize profits, I mean, it just kind of depends on the situation. So to do that is we're going to make inequalities to find maximum or minimum values. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with what do we know about our warm-up problem up here. What do I know about this warm-up? So it gave us some constraints, right? What's one of the constraints we had to do?
No more than
15 plants. No more than 15 plants, right? On our warm-up, we had to have, phrase it, no more than 15 plants. No more than 15 plants. What was our other constraint?
$40.
And we had
$40.
$40 or less?
Hey, bullet point, Kobe.
I know. Alright, I had $40 or less. What else? There's two kind of stupid ones almost that you guys are missing. Could we have a negative plant?
Maximize the pounds.
Well, yeah, we'll get to that. Could we have negative plants? Could we buy like -2 tomato plants?
You can sell.
No. No. We're talking about buying tomato plants. So we can't have less than 0 plants. We can't have less than 0 plants. Was there any other constraints, any other restrictions we had on this situation here? No.
What if the plants die? Could you go negative then?
Well, it's all theoretical. It's not about, we're not going into like really weird, like one-time random events.
Why not?
You take some higher calculus maybe.
No thanks.
And then, alright, and then I'm just going to check in.
Okay, I already dropped out of calculus. That was too dumb.
And then, what was the last thing we wanted to do? Like, what was the whole point of this kind of story problem? What did we want to do with it?
Justify your answer.
No. We wanted the most pounds of tomatoes, right?
Devin just shut
So,
up.
I'm just saying things.
we
I know
wanted
this.
as many pounds as possible. We want as many pounds as possible of tomatoes. So we're actually going to be maximizing because we're going to find the maximum amount of tomatoes we can get based off of these situations. So what we're going to do is, even though these are all words, we can actually represent all of this mathematically.
Where's your squid hat?
And I took it off because it was too warm. So we can actually make all of this, or we can show all this mathematically. What we're going to do is we're going to make a bunch of inequalities. Remember, those are less than or greater than things. And what we're going to do is we're going to do an x and a y. We're going to make our Romas x and our cherry tomatoes y. What?
Are you recording?
Yeah. So if I am going to make my Roma tomatoes x and my cherry tomatoes y, I'm kind of combining the next 2 slides just because I want to be able to look at all of this at once. So let me just
You should use candy instead of tomatoes.
Well, I got it from the book. Alright, if I'm talking about no more than 15 plants, I need to represent that with Romas as x and cherries as y.
Yeah.
So I need the number of Romas I buy plus the number of cherry tomatoes I buy has to be less than or equal to 15, right? If x is the number of Romas, y is the number of cherry tomatoes, they have to be less than or equal to 15. Because we can't have more than 15 plants, right?
You nerd.
Okay? So we have to spend $40 or less on these also. So whatever I buy, it's got to be less than or equal to $40. That's my other constraint. And I need to go back and look at, actually, let me just grab this extra notes right here.
What is X and Y?
X are Roma tomatoes, Y are
Okay.
cherry tomatoes.
So it's just the.
So every time you see an X, that is the number of Roma tomato plants that we're going to buy. We don't know what those are yet. We're going to have to figure it out.
Does it matter which one you choose for X and Y?
No, I just picked a random one. And then Y is going to be the number of cherry tomato plants we buy. I don't know what they are yet. We're going to have to figure them out. And right now I'm taking all of these words we just did, and we are writing them out in mathematical inequalities. So, let me see. I can't have more than 15 plants, so X plus Y has to be less than or equal to 15. And I want to spend less than or no more than $40. So how much does it say our Roma tomato plants cost? On that warm-up problem.
$2 each.
$2, right? So if I take the number of Roma tomato plants and I multiply it by 2, isn't that how much money we would spend on those plants? $2 per plant.
Yeah.
So 2 times however much we buy is how much we spend.
Yep.
So if we buy 5 plants, we're spending $10. Alright, so whatever my cost is for my Romas, plus whatever the cost is for my cherries, has to be less than or equal to 40. How much does it say cherry tomatoes cost? $3, right? So the same thing. If I take the number of cherry tomatoes I buy, and I multiply it by 3, that will get me how much I paid for those cherry tomatoes. Alright, so we did this first one, we did the second one. We can't have less than 0 plants, right? So my number of tomato plants for my Romas has to be greater than or equal to 0. I can't have negative plants in there, that just throws it off. And same thing with my cherry tomatoes, or my Y. Y has to be greater than or equal to 0, because I can't have less than 0 tomato plants.
So the answer's 40.
Nah, we're not even close to getting our answer yet.
Yeah.
These are really long problems today. Really long problems. The hardest part of our stuff today is going from this into the math. Because once we're done with these, we're going to plug it into Desmos, and it's not going to be super tough from there. We're going to just use Desmos now. And then, alright, I've got one last thing. So we want as many pounds as possible, right? So how many pounds does it say we get from Roma tomatoes? 8 pounds from Romas, right? So if I take 8 and I multiply it by the number of Romas, that'll give me the total pounds for my Roma tomatoes. And same thing for my cherry tomatoes, but how many pounds do I get from cherry tomatoes, according to our thing? 10 pounds, right? So 10 times the number of cherry tomatoes is going to be my total pounds. And then on this, whatever this is going to be total pounds, right? So I'm just going to go equals T for total. Actually, I'll just write total. I'll make it easy. It's going to equal our total. So 8x plus 10y is going to equal our total. I want this total to be as big as I can possibly get it, because I want as many pounds as possible. So what we're going to do is we are going to graph all of our inequalities. We're going to take this whole piece right here. We're going to graph each one of these in Desmos. And we're going to see where they overlap. Because where they overlap, we're going to look at the corners of that. So right now what I want you guys to do is just go into Desmos, and I want you to graph all 4 of these. So we can see what it looks like.
Wait, is it just equals? Or is
Nope, it's less than or equal to right here.
So we have to put that in?
Yep, you have to put the less than or equal to part. So let me get that going here.
Oh, jeez.
Desmos. Gotta make sure I put it on this. So, let me think. We had x plus y had to be less than or equal to 15. That was my first, excuse me, that was my first one, right?
Yep.
X plus y had to be less than or equal to 15. Alright. Let me see, 2x plus 3y had to be less than or equal to 40. That was about all the money part. We couldn't spend more than $40. And let's keep going through.
We do the zeros?
Yep.
Okay.
So we also need our 0, 1s. X needs to be greater than or equal to 0. And
What does it look like?
y needs to be greater than or equal to 0. So I'll let everybody type this in so we can look at it.
I don't know. I typed in this. Oh.
What'd you do?
There you go.
It still doesn't work. Oh no, it does. You just have to wait.
Imagine if
Yeah,
I
it still looks weird.
Alright, I'll wait till everybody gets this down
Use your
before
dot.
we move on.
That's why it's on the dot. Not on the line. You're like way out here.
Alright, let me make sure everybody's got it down before we keep going. There we go, yeah.
So I finished yesterday.
Alright,
You even check mine. I think I only got half.
I got one more to do.
alright, so we're going to look at where all of these graphs overlap. You guys remember yesterday where our answer was where our two shaded spots overlap? Same kind of thing today, except this time there's a bunch of things that overlap. So I'm going to look at where everything overlaps, which is going to be kind of this big, too far. It's going to be this kind of section right in here. It's basically going to be the darkest section. So it's kind of, it's almost a triangle, but we get the little bump right there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at all of the corners of this darkest section right in here. So I'm going to look at, that is a corner, right? Our darkest section is this almost triangle piece in the middle. We're going to look at all the corners. So I have one here at the top. I have one here kind of in the middle. I have one down there. And I have one down here. And with Desmos, it's nice because you can go through and click on different things and it gives you the points. It just automatically tells you where your lines cross, which is really nice. That's why I like Desmos a lot. 4 points on there. So I want you to make sure on your own Chromebook, you can click and get those points.
Want to write them down?
Yes. Well, no, actually you don't have to because I already put them on. Alright, you see all these different points? These are the 4 possible combinations we can plug in for X and Y. And whatever we get when we plug it into that thing that had our total, whatever we get that's the biggest number is going to be the best thing for us to do. So we're going to take each X and Y, each pair of points, we're going to plug it into that total function and see what our biggest thing is. So we got all these points right here. That okay, Becca? Yeah. Alright, so those are the 4 points we got. Your colors might look different, which doesn't really matter. That's
Mine
fine.
are the same.
It does matter.
It doesn't.
I have to redo this until I get the same colors.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't matter. So these are the 4 points. So, we're going to plug these into what is called our objective function. So we're going to plug these into our objective function. So, you guys remember the piece that said 8x plus 10y equals our total?
Yeah.
We're going to plug our x and y coordinates into this piece right here. And whatever gets us the biggest number is going to be our final answer.
Out of any of those points?
So we're going to have to try all of them.
Oh god.
So we're going to start with, let's start with 0, 13.3. I'm going to plug in 0 for my x, 13.3 for my y, and I'm going to see what I get. And I've already got this all set up on this next slide. Give me a second. And we'll just go there. So I'm going to have 0, 13.3. And I'm just going to solve it, and it's going to equal, I'm not really sure why I wrote P right here. I don't know. That's our total. It's going to equal our total. Yeah, oh well. So let's plug in 0, 13.3. What's 8 times 0?
0.
Okay, what's 10 times 13.3? 133. Let's move the decimal right once. We get 133 equals our total. So if we bought 0, remember X was our Roma tomatoes. If we bought 0 Roma tomatoes, 13.3 cherry tomatoes, we would get 133 pounds total. Okay? Let's try if we buy 5 Roma, 10 cherry. What's 8 times 5?
40.
40. What's 10 times 10?
2.
100. 40 plus 100 is?
140.
140. So we would have 140 pounds total if I bought 5 Romas, 10 cherries.
So we don't have to do 0, 0 because it's the smallest.
Well, yeah, if I plug in 0, 0, how many pounds of tomatoes do I have if I buy 0 tomato plants? 0. So do we even need to plug in 0, 0?
No.
No, not for this one. If you're minimizing, you might, but for this one, we don't. All right, and then my last one, I'm plugging in 15, 0. 8 times 15, I actually don't know that one in my head. Well, 80 plus 40 is 130? Yeah, 130. 130 plus 10 times 0 is 0.
Yeah.
So it's going to be 130 is going to be my
Desmond
total.
says 120.
Is it 120?
Desmond says 120.
Oh yeah, it is 120. That's my bad. 120. Gosh, I did that in my head.
So
I did it in my head.
she did it in her head before you did.
Well, I was doing it quick.
I was
did
up
fast.
30, 60, 90 with
Yeah, showing off.
Crazy.
Eric,
so smart. Go
making
through
me look
it.
bad. I'm recording this too.
This is going on YouTube. To all of his subscribers.
All
No, we
0.
don't watch. Oh, I guess
All right.
I go subscribe.
So after we plug these in, what gave us the most pounds of
He
tomatoes?
starts making money.
5 and 10.
5 Roma tomatoes, 10 cherry tomatoes. That would get us the most pounds. So 5 Romas.
No.
Is there like 2 problems on the
10
assignment?
cherries.
again?
No.
We might have 5 maybe.
Whoa.
Maybe.
Way too
I
much.
said maybe.
4. Well, usually my mom says maybe. Actually,
That
no.
means yes.
That means no.
Yeah, that means no.
No.
Don't ask him.
Yeah.
All right. So this is the whole process. So we're gonna do like one more of these. Really.
Ooh.
Yeah. But you guys are gonna help me out on this next one.
No.
So these are long problems. We're actually gonna practice these more tomorrow also. So
It's Halloween, man.
You
yeah.
Uh,
So you should have lots of sugar tomorrow to keep you awake.
No.
Awake and.
Dude, I'm gonna be tired. I can't go to tomorrow.
All right. So let's do another one.
I
On
don't
this one,
keep
you are
any
screen
pockets.
printing T-shirts and sweatshirts to sell at the Polk County Blues Festival, and are working with the following constraints. You have at most 20 hours to make shirts. You want to spend no more than $600 on supplies. You want to have at least 50 items to sell. How many T-shirts and how many sweatshirts? Sweatshirts.
Wow,
Sorry.
you're recording
Yeah.
this.
No, it's a rough day for me. How many T-shirts and how many sweatshirts should you make to maximize your profit?
25. That's the answer. I already
Let's find out.
know.
And then, according to these, if you're making a T-shirt, it takes 10 minutes. Your supplies cost $4, and your profit is $6. If you're making a sweatshirt, they take 30 minutes. Supplies cost $20, but your profit is $20. So we got to figure out how much of each kind.
I feel like there's an easier way to do this, but you're not teaching us.
It's
yet.
not. No, this is the well, maybe matrices, but we'll get into those.
This is the only way.
Doubt it. There's more.
Actually, this isn't too bad. You just got to make sure you get your
Siri.
inequalities going. Yeah, nice try. All right, so let's go through. It says you have at most 20 hours to make shirts. So let's actually, before we do that, let's make X. Let's make X our T-shirts,
What the?
and let's make Y sweatshirts.
X minus plus shirts. Y minus sweatshirts.
T-shirts.
X minus plus minus sweatshirts.
X equals T-shirts.
X equals plus minus shirts.
No, it
T-shirts.
says X equals plus
T-shirts.
minus shirts.
I don't
Like
Y
a
equals
Yeah.
SWAT shirts.
Sweatshirts.
SWAT shirts.
Let's see which one's
Okay, I'm doing this class. Oh my god.
I'm so
Yeah, I'm doing alright.
tired.
Okay, so we're gonna make all X's T-shirts. We're gonna make all Y's sweatshirts. So it says you have at most 20 hours to make shirts, right? So however much time it takes, it's got to be less than or equal to 20. How much time does it make How much time does it take to make a T-shirt?
I don't know, probably really
10
slow for
minutes.
me.
10 minutes, right?
Oh,
So
wow.
10 minutes times the number of T-shirts plus how many minutes is it going to take to make a sweatshirt?
5.
30.
Amazing. 30.
22.
30 minutes times the number of sweatshirts. So it has to be less than, oh, but I should be careful. That's got to be less than 20 hours, right?
Yep.
It was 10 and 30 what? Minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Which means I should probably make that 20 hours into minutes.
Yeah, we
So
can
how many
find
minutes are in an hour?
60.
Okay, so what's 60 times 20?
25.
30. 60
120
times
minutes.
20? 120.
1,200.
There you go.
Wait,
1,000.
22.
27.
Daisins? Don't help me.
100.
1,200.
Subscribers.
So let's make sure we keep that all in the same kind of thing. Minutes, minutes, minutes. Alright, so that was my first one. We want to spend no more than $600 on supplies. Alright, so I have to have less than or equal to 600. Alright. So for my t-shirts, how much does it cost for supplies?
$6. Oh wait, $4.
$4 for t-shirts, right? Okay. So 4x, 4 times the number of t-shirts, plus how much does it cost to make a sweatshirt?
30.
No.
20.
20?
Sorry.
$20.
I don't know.
So 4x plus 20y has to be less than, no wait.
No.
Oh yes, fine. It has to be less than or equal to 600.
Bless you.
Guys are throwing me off.
Huh?
Throwing me off.
Oh.
Alright, let's keep going. What else does it want to know? What's my other constraint up here?
He wants 50 items.
Mhm. We want to have at least 50, right? So, the number of t-shirts plus the number of sweatshirts has to be bigger than or equal to 50. So x plus y has to be greater than or equal to 50.
X, what?
X plus y has to be greater than or equal to 50. What?
There's something back here.
What do you
It's
mean?
me sneeze.
Oh,
Oh.
sorry. Alright, and let's keep going. There's 2 more that's not specifically up here, but we should probably put them in just to be safe. Can we make negative t-shirts?
Yes.
No. You're not special,
That's a
Dave.
very bad production day.
Alright, so my x should be greater than or equal to 0. My y should be greater than or equal to 0. Sometimes we need those, sometimes we don't. It just kind of depends. Alright. So it wants us to maximize our profit. So we need to figure out what's going to get us the most profit. So how much profit do we get from t-shirts?
20.
20.
$6. The only one that said right.
Dazen saying it
David, he just called me David.
You call me.
Dazen.
You call me.
My words.
This is really-
They're not coming out.
Devin?
Alright, so 6x plus. How much profit do we get from sweatshirts?
20.
$20 profit from sweatshirt is going to equal our total. Alright.
I can't even read the
6.
board. Don't even know what's going on.
6x plus 20y equals total.
Yep.
Didn't we already write that
You're
down?
testing this?
No.
No. Maybe not.
Alright. I have everything I need to start plugging this into Desmos. So, just like before, I want you to plug all of our inequalities into Desmos, and we're going to find out where they all cross. You guys are going to help me, because I'm going to ask you guys where these are at.
It's gonna be like 14 and 2.
So much
Just like last
work.
time.
Yep.
There's only 4
Trying to kill us,
last
Gopi?
time.
It's gonna be 10 and 15.
There's more this time.
10 and 15.
Yep.
Yeah, there's 4 last time. Okay.
Yep, there's more this time. That's fine.
Math makes
You can have a bunch of these if you want. But
I can't see.
so I want you to plug these into Desmos on your own. I'm going to pick people to start telling me where they cross.
Wait, do we write 12?
Random dancing.
Are you broken?
Color for different sometimes. Oh.
Is there any prescription on it?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess there is. Wait, what's the number we have to get?
Yeah, just 'cause you take care of Brittany.
You're Brittany's mom.
What's the number we're supposed to get? Goki. What's the number we're supposed to get? I'm trying to see if I can get this probability guessing. Nothing.
Oh, nothing. Disregard everything. I know. Right here. That's where it is.
Yeah. That one.
Jesus, those are high numbers.
That one.
I'm guessing it's gonna be the other one.
Is Brittany cook?
25, 25?
Oh, no, you're the cook.
Close.
Yeah, I forgot.
20.
You got what those 4 points are?
650.
And remember, you just kind of click on the lines.
It's okay.
Okay. What are we supposed to get to?
It was the
Oh.
Italian sandwich.
I don't get what that is. Oh, we're supposed to get 1200?
You're supposed to be graphing all those. 10x plus 30y less than or equal to
You
1200.
put the things on the or something.
Yeah, I was doing
Oh,
this.
and you're plugging them in. Oh, so it's going to be the total, whatever the total
No
is.
more. Two more minutes.
Yeah. So the total for 25 and 25 is 650.
650.
Okay. So now do it again for another set of points.
I feel like that's gonna be the best one.
Okay.
What?
6 times.
So now when you turn it out for the
What?
the darkest spot.
20 times 15.
What?
750. Oh, that was right there.
Probably look like.
I see it. I see it.
You don't have to write it. What's the next one?
1530.
You got double.
So that's 25, 25. And then you're going to have.
790. We have a winner.
790?
Oh yeah, no jar of candy for Dave. What? No jar of candy for
Wait, so what? That was the one we did? 15.
That's the win.
You ever seen the movie called Trick or Treat?
Wait, no, was it 75, 15?
God dang it. Wait, are you sure?
Wait, no, 15. 35, yes.
God dang it.
Alright, once you start getting your 4 points, if you want to kind of get ahead of other people, start by plugging them into X and Y and seeing what your total is. Remember, we want the total. We want the total.
Yeah, it was 6.
So you gotta plug it back in.
X and Y is this thing.
790.
Oh, so just like
That's a desk, huh?
The yes. So
Okay, so you just pick like random.
Oh,
Check
that
that.
one.
Why is there a cane up there?
Because it's Daisy, it's my phone.
you have to find out.
Back in the day.
Way back when.
Dude, it's so awkward sitting in
How
the
did you
cave.
fit that the points are still? I remember when I was here, Jason.
Last year?
Yeah, no, it's way young.
It isn't the youngest.
Jason doesn't turn 16 until next month.
Are you serious?
Yep.
Are you for real?
No, you.
I turned 18 in June.
You're not even.
Yeah, I turned, let it happen.
You're only 15 right now?
Yeah.
Oh my
Oh, yeah,
god.
did you just take your picture?
Yeah, I just took my permit test. You got literally. Ryan was in when I took it. Almost a whole
Ryan?
month. Ryan that goes to school.
Which one?
There's more than one Ryan that goes to.
There's the principal, there's Ryan Hill, there's Ryan Post.
I don't know. The hick Ryan.
Oh, the white one?
Yeah. Weird. Always shows up in the jars.
Post.
Hey, go
That's what I said.
I go to the restroom. I called it first.
Oh no, I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Look, I did
No.
say
No, we're doing this lesson.
Alright, let's
Go to the bathroom, dude. Here you go. Come on, go open that thing now.
Don't you do it.
Oops.
On your back.
Shut up. Go okay. Isabella. No. It's not. No, that's not.
That's what they all count. So
I think we're all started with
so you're gonna start needing those numbers.
Wait, all of these numbers? Inside of this?
All
Okay.
there's like 4 forms of it, right?
You can't leave.
No,
Which one?
it's not 15.
Can't leave. So. And go okay.
And then, who's that?
My grandma.
Oh, but
Soft.
oh.
I just put zero.
Okay.
His restroom.
Not yet. We're almost done.
I have to use it back.
So these 5 points right here.
Yep. All right. So let's get all our points on here first. So Jason, start us off. What is one pair of points you found?
25, 25.
25, 25. LMA, what was another point you found?
Oh
Just a point.
no.
75, 15. Alyssa, what was another point you found?
My name.
50, 0. And then Ermaya, there should be one more point.
There was
You did that way.
Zero.
one.
0 what?
Third. I did the point.
Was it 030? Was that the last one?
No, I got 120.
Alright, I'll look at yours, Ermaya. Let's see what we got.
Did you do it over here?
And then I think 120, 0 is our last. No. Alright, hang on. Let me look at scrap.
We got 15
I'm
and
not-
35.
What?
We got 15 and 35. We got 15 and 35.
So.
You got it right.
This is the one. That's the darkest one.
I think it's 120, 0. I don't know.
Look, okay, that's
Hey,
the darkest
you
one.
did it on our paper.
Baby, look at my graph, dude.
You chose 120.
Yeah, let me
Look at mine.
Let me look.
It is 120 or 50
Look, this is the darkest one.
It is 120 or 50. Oh.
David, definitely you or what?
Oh, that's the darkest one.
Yeah, you guys missed the point.
You forgot another one. You forgot to put x plus y is greater or equal to 50. 15, 50.
There.
Another one?
There.
That shouldn't be a 15.
There.
It should be a 50.
Alright, and I think 120, 0. Alright, now that we have these, we are just going to plug them in for x and y right up here. Remember, the first one is x, the second one is y. So start plugging these in, and I'm going to call on people to tell me what they get for these after we're done here in a minute. Or after I give you a chance to work.
Times 0?
What you say?
Yeah.
So start plugging these back in up here.
We did.
So all of them into the same.
That was not the highest number because we had 17.
Secret.
It doesn't even matter if it is yours because I can use it. I have to say mine.
I have a question.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right.
That was 300? Extra.
Yeah.
That's gonna be over. Where's the fifth one?
Dude, I know.
That one shouldn't be there.
Hey, you're my nanny class, huh?
There.
Move for yours?
Because you see how
It's all easy. It's kind of hard to tell. You know, it's just using all of them.
Is it still 15 and 35? Or no?
I know it's hard to tell what that's
Is that still on there?
No, you get to go to the bathroom.
23.
Yeah, you said that one, that one, that one, that one.
Okay,
that one.
so
Alright.
15 and 35.
Oh, wait, 1535 wouldn't be on there.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, these can be kind of tough to figure out what's the darkest part. So, alright, let's go through real quick. Carissa, did you plug in one of these yet? Alright, do the top one. Raymond, you plug in one of these yet?
No.
Do the second one. Gail, did you do like the third one?
The
50-0?
almost what?
Did you plug in 50-0 yet?
So it'd be 75.
No, I got the last one.
Okay, then.
Not even that far yet.
Okay, do that one. We'll skip ahead. And then James, you done the fourth one?
Which one is it?
120-0. Did you plug that one in yet?
Nope.
All right, that one's yours.
Oh my god.
Can I use the bathroom now?
Nope.
Why? I had the answer.
Because we may as well just wait till the end of class now.
Aw.
Wait till the end of what?
Catherine.
Oh.
Fake.
What time?
Can I leave
You got
early?
23. We got like
Bad news, David.
5 minutes. Yeah, 5 minutes.
It's 2:18.
Can I leave early?
I don't know what to do that.
Can I leave early?
All right. Once one of you four, or when any of you four guys get the thing I asked, tell me what you get. What'd you get, Carissa?
Total?
Yeah.
650.
650.
That's wrong.
All right, Raven, did you get yours yet?
I got 550.
All right, keep working on it. Gal, did you get yours?
I
Oh, wait,
got
that's
the
one. Yep.
You got what?
1,000 total?
For 50-0?
Yeah.
You still haven't played it yet?
No, still Dave's house.
It's
How much
a
you
300, sweetie.
Yeah, double check that one. I think you typed it in wrong.
That's not bad.
That's hella cheap.
50 for X,
What did
0
you
for
plug
Y.
it into? No, what did you plug? Did you plug it into 6X plus
It has
20Y?
no internals, it's just a shell.
You plug it into this one right here?
Ghost is shit. Replica.
Alright, let me look. James, you get your last
Yeah, it's
one?
just
Give me
real.
the
No, no,
wrong
to do.
that's why.
It's camouflage.
Would you go to it?
Yeah, but it's 750.
Alright, James, what did you get for the last one?
I know that was you. James, what did you get for the last one?
You nerds.
You get for the last one. Alright, plug in 120 for X, 0 for Y.
Alright, well, I lost my pen.
Just do it in Desmos. Raven, you get yours?
6 times 120.
650.
750. Alright, just waiting on the last two.
Alright, hold on a second. 300. On the next one.
I didn't ask you.
Devin's all trying hard.
22.
Seven's all
No, it's not 22.
It's close.
Nice try.
Yeah,
close.
7, you got 720?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah.
You like that?
No, you didn't do it on the first time.
You have a subscriber, Cody.
600?
Yep, 300.
Yeah, you got one
Alright,
subscriber.
so which one of these gave us the most amount of profit?
Oh, we've just been watching.
720, 750. None yet.
This one, right? 75 t-shirts, 15 sweatshirts.
Begin. Sorry.
75 t-shirts, 15 sweatshirts.
Oh, dang. How'd you get 75 t-shirts?
Because it's from this one right there.
Huh?
7,500 for X, right?
Well, why is it 750?
All right, you
Yeah,
nerds, gather
that
your
was the
stuff
most
up.
money we made. Because
Oh.
we wanted the most money.
You sound just like
Oh,
Yes, it
okay.
is.
Now I see what you're saying.
Alright, so we've got about 2 minutes left. Put your Chromebooks away. We are going to practice this in class tomorrow. So save your notes. Put your Chromebooks away.
Will you please turn off
No homework.
yesterday? 'Cause I don't
It's on Google Classroom.
Oh, it is.
Watch the video.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I'm going to have my first video is going to have 1 view.
Woo!